G'day and welcome to Beyond Sobriety, a podcast where you'll hear real stories of recovery and resilience come to life. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, your host and fellow journeyer on the road to sobriety. As someone who has walked the path of addiction and found solace in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, I understand the challenges and triumphs that come with striving for sobriety. And it's with this understanding and empathy that we've created this podcast. Our purpose here at Beyond Sobriety is simple yet profound: to provide a platform where individuals can share their experience with alcoholism openly and authentically. Through candid conversation, personal narrative, and expert insights, we aim to inspire hope, foster understanding, and offer a beacon of light to those still navigating the shadows of addiction. We'd love for you to be a part of this growing community. If you find value in the stories that you hear today, please consider liking and leaving a comment and sharing this episode with somebody who might benefit from hearing it. Your support will help spread the message of hope and resilience to more people who need it. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, and this is Beyond Sobriety. Okay, so we're here with Ella. Ella, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm an alcoholic. I'm nearly 50 and I've been sober almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years on the 15th of April.
15th of April. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, not long.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
2 years is an amazing achievement.
Yes, I didn't know whether I'd get 2 years. I've done one on my own, but not two, and I couldn't have done it without AA, so.
Yeah, look, I didn't think I could get one day. When you're caught in the grips of actual active drinking and addiction, you know, 1 day is huge.
1 day is huge, and I could do 1 day at a time, but I kept thinking of it, and that was the part that I just couldn't get past.
Yeah, that mental obsession.
Absolutely. When I wasn't drinking, I was counting the days.
Yeah, I was counting the minutes, seconds. So what was the attitude towards alcohol like in your family when you were a child?
My parents were, funnily enough, not alcoholics. We didn't have a lot of alcohol around us. When I was a teenager, we might have a shandy, which was probably so weak that, I could have driven even on my P plates now. It was just virtually nothing. It was just a taste of it. Yeah. Because they didn't want either my sister or I to be an alcoholic. That there has been alcoholism in the family with, we suspect, a couple of people, which I won't go into because that's their story to tell. But
absolutely.
One of our family members did die from complications from alcohol. So it's been in the family, but not directly around me. Yeah. I had heard that my grandmother was one as well.
Okay.
But that was before I really knew her. I was very, very young. While it's in the family, there hasn't been the actual influx of people getting completely smashed around me. I do remember my dad being tipsy once, but it was so rare that it was,
So what, like at a family gathering or something like that? Yeah,
something like, it was just a gathering. I think it was like a Christmas at home. He had one too many ports. That's all it was. It was very sensible drinking. They are not a fan of excessive drinking at all.
If I was to describe my upbringing, I'd probably say it's almost identical to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was one time where my sister said, I think Dad might have had a little bit too many because he was just smiling and a bit red in the face. But apart from that, I'd see my parents drinking maybe once a month. I'd never see my mum drink, but I'd see my dad drink maybe once a month or something, if that.
My mum didn't like the sensations, so she didn't drink that much.
Yeah.
My dad didn't drink that much because he just didn't feel the need. My upbringing wasn't around alcohol. And then even when I became a teenager, I didn't go off the rails like a lot of kids would have.
Yep.
There was a lot of night clubbing because we're talking the late 80s, early 90s, that sort of
It's a great time. Great time to be alive.
Wasn't it?
The hair, the fashion, the socks.
The shoulder pads.
Yes.
So I had friends that we would go to the really high-class establishments, like hotels, and then we'd dress up to the nines and we'd get into all the nightclubs free, and then we had the rule, you stay together, you don't get drunk.
You stuck to that?
We stuck to that. We went home together. It was our rules. We were never naughty girls, really. We just got out and about doing things.
Did you grow up here in Sydney?
Yeah, I grew up around where we are right now. We've only moved maybe 20 minutes from where it originally was.
That's so foreign to me. I've heard that before. I've heard the statistics that most people will live, grow up, work and die within like a 20 to 30 kilometre radius.
Yeah.
And that just blows my mind because I was born in Canberra, grew up in Adelaide, started my working life in Melbourne, and now I live in Sydney. Like while I'm still in the same country, And my parents migrated here from England. Big geographicals.
Yeah, geographical. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, big geographicals. Not intentional. It was just work and, not trying to escape anything or run away. It was that's just how my life turned out. So when I hear someone go, I grew up and live in the same area, it just kind of rocks my little world a little bit.
Don't get me wrong. I was actually intending to move to Melbourne with somebody I was dating at the time. It just didn't work out. These things happen for a reason. Again, I wasn't drinking when this was happening.
Yeah.
This would be, actually, I was drinking when we split.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason we split. We split because I just realised it wasn't working, and 8 years of long distance is a long time. And when somebody doesn't want exactly somebody in their life and makes it clear, you sort of end up thinking, well, what's the point of this anyway? I'll just move on.
No, fair enough. I mean, I did long distance before I got married because I met my wife in Melbourne, and then I moved up here to Sydney for work, and we did that for about a year and a half, and then was just like, no, we're getting married. And
and that's hard enough.
Yeah, that wasn't easy. A lot of flights. A lot of
travel, I just don't think he was able to commit for some reason. But whatever that was, that's part of the history of but it's nothing to do with my alcoholism, which surprisingly.
So, well, we're still kind of with you, I guess, at a young age. You said you didn't really did you experiment much with alcohol? Usually people do it at teenagers' years. Did you experiment much in your teenagers?
I did experiment a bit with it. And when I was younger, I got drunk once or twice when I met my ex-husband.
How old were you then?
I was 19, I believe, when I met him, 18, 19. So I wasn't very old. But the first time, I absolutely hated it when I got drunk. Though I was mixing drinks. I was young, and his friends kept handing me things. I didn't know that it was going to do what it did, being young and stupid. Woke up with a hangover. I felt absolutely dreadful, and I did not want to do it again. And I didn't enjoy the feeling of being drunk. So none of this, it was all no for me. And I didn't intentionally get drunk again. There was another night I can remember I was tipsy. I think it was at somebody's party, one of my cousins. They gave me a bourbon and milk. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever drank.
Okay.
When I was in my active drinking, I would have drank that and drank more. But
it had nothing to do with the taste.
Oh, no, it was nothing to do with the taste.
It was all about the effect.
It was the effect. At that time, it was disgusting. It was just horrible. And I was like, why would anyone drink this? I did not understand, which in and of itself, that's fine. That's kind of normal, quote unquote, normal drinking.
That's completely normal.
What's considered normal anyway?
I guess, I mean, it's hard to say what is normal, what is right, what is wrong. It's all abstract, I guess. But
and then I'd go to nightclubs and I would I'd just dance all night. I might have 7 standard drinks, but I'd be drinking water in between, and I'd come home tipsy, not drunk.
Okay.
So that was the kind of experience I had as a younger person. And then as I grew older, as I grew older, it was the same, only I graduated to wine instead of, the lolly drinks that they love. Yes, very classy.
Gosh, those sugary ones. I still remember when I was a kid getting drunk off Smirnoff. Now, and you know what, when I was drinking in my later life and in my alcoholic stages, I tried to drink that again, and it was just too sweet. Just too sugary, just like sugar water. Yeah. I was like, ugh.
I think we started, because my mum didn't mind it, we'd have maybe a West Coast cooler. And when I was further on in my active drinking, that was just disgusting.
Oh, I could imagine.
And then we went from there to Traminer Riesling, which is an extremely sweet sort of a wine.
Yep.
And then I ended up on Sauvignon Blanc. Then I couldn't drink the white. And then I went to red. And that's about when it started, my actual active. But we're talking years here.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll continue on. So you're late teens. You're going through. Did you go to uni? Did you go straight into the workforce after high school?
Straight into the workforce.
Yep.
I've always been in secretarial back then, admin now. So I've always been with that. But then I have had other jobs as well. I worked in a factory for a while. I worked in retailers management for a while. I just walked into a job and. Because I guess I spoke okay, they put me in a management role, which and then I.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Yes, I think it was just there was a funny little offshoot of the particular brand that I was in. They popped me in there. It was boring as anything. Nobody went there. So they then decided to train me in HR, AA, mirror administration, all of that stuff.
Yep.
And lots of stress, not a lot of money for it, but hey, it kept me busy, and one day I'd be in a part of the country. One day I'd be in my own little home store. The next I'd be up in, Coffs Harbour, Ballina, Melbourne, wherever they wanted to send me.
Sounds fancy.
Well, it was just
It's exciting
extreme.
to travel for work. I've travelled a lot for work. I was in the Defence Force, so I've been all around the world. And in my current job, every now and then I need to go down to Melbourne or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Even though even interstate travel for me has become a little bit like, oh, I've got to go. There's still always that element of I get to travel and someone else is paying for it,
It can be a bit fun.
It can be a bit fun.
But you usually only get to see the city from the plane.
Oh, yeah.
Because
in an office.
But yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like you're on a fairly good track so far. What happened?
I contracted a neurological condition.
Okay.
That was about when I started self-medicating, I guess. It's one that's not easy to treat. There's not a lot known about it. It's got no studies because they make no money out of it because there's just not enough people with it.
Yeah.
Which, I get that. At the time it was frustrating. Finding the right medications was frustrating because I'm awfully sensitive to medication.
Okay.
Now, even though I'm an alcoholic, I hate the feeling of drugs.
Okay.
So I've never tried anything illicit. Well, there was once with my ex-husband, I was secondhand smoke. And I hated the feeling of the marijuana.
High,
so I went out. I was like, no, that's a no for me.
Okay.
And I was only a teenager then, so I've never bothered with it since. But I've been on medications I'm currently on antispasmodics, but I was on opioids. I was on morphine. I was on all sorts of things. I had a doctor tell me I was a top chick because I told him that I didn't want to take the morphine anymore. It made me feel absolutely sick. I felt like I was a split personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a top chick. Other people would want to take that. And I'm like, he was talking about operating and I'm like, Mom, don't let him touch me because I couldn't drive at the time.
Yeah.
So she's like, they'll get you out of here.
So how old were you when you diagnosed with that?
I've had this for about 15 years now.
15 years. So that would be mid-30s?
Yeah, mid to late. Probably 37 if I remember correctly, 37, 38.
So drinking for you was not an issue until later on in life then?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been in my 40s. It didn't happen straight away even with this. It happened probably, I'd say 5 years into it, it really started to creep in. And we talk about it being progressive, and for me it has been a very slow progression.
Yeah.
But it would start off with maybe a bottle of wine and I would have it in front of people and, half today, half tomorrow, and then it was the full bottle and then I was sneaking it. So already the behaviour's starting. But wine is something that my mother could smell, and I was living at home at the time. So, and it was quite frowned upon at how much I was drinking. From there, I became a closet drinker.
Yeah.
Very isolated. I didn't go out and drink. It was never social.
No, well, that's very similar to me because I'm from a particularly religious background where drinking was absolutely a no-go. So the idea of somebody drinking in that society, let alone drinking to excess, would have been completely and utterly foreign and not acceptable. Yeah. Not even from my family, my wife, my parents. My parents don't know that I drink. My in-laws don't know I drink. I hid it from my wife until there was no possible way I could possibly hide it anymore. But yeah, so I completely get it when you're saying you had to hide it and stuff. So what kind of lengths did you go to hide your drinking?
It's amazing what you can hide, where you can hide these things. But for me, with closet drinking, you can't really hide bottles. It's very, very hard to hide a bottle.
They're loud and clinky.
They're too big.
Yeah.
They're easily seen. Having said that, I could hide a full bottle of bourbon or scotch down the side of my recliner chair.
Okay.
My recliner chair was something that I was actually sleeping in the beginning of when I was unwell because I couldn't sleep laying down.
I understand.
Even though it's an unusual condition because it's in my face, I could not lay down without physical pain and lack of sleep. So... But yeah, I could hide the full bottle there. But that became known that was a place that I'd hide my alcohol. So it would be, the side of the bed, some of my drawers, pockets. The funny thing is vodka was easily discovered. Yes. If I was drinking that, it was known. I'd be caught. You're drinking.
Okay.
But I wouldn't always get caught with bourbon and scotch, and I don't know why the smell wasn't more prominent because it actually does have a smell. So
yeah, they say vodka doesn't have a smell. It does.
It does. It has an actual.
I can smell it a mile off. It's I'm like a camel who hasn't drunk for a long time, and I can smell the oasis. And even now, like I get a whiff of it or a Hand sanitizer, I'm like, oh, I'm right back there.
Yeah, hand sanitizer and vodka are very similar in the smell to me. And
yeah.
I've never been a fan of the vodka.
Yeah.
But I've always liked a bit of scotch and a little bit of bourbon.
Yep.
So, but they're very, very similar. They go hand in hand. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with my makeup that it smelled different. Who knows? Whatever it is, it wasn't caught as much.
You're a 40-year-old woman living at home getting scolded from your parents for drinking. Is that accurate?
Pretty much.
Okay. You know, that's very disempowering.
Yes. But it was their house and their rules, and there was enough going on there. My dad had cancers. And when I say cancers, there was multiple. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I was just adding to the stress by, especially towards the end of it, getting drunk. I went from getting tipsy to getting drunk and blackout, but I'd be doing this in my room.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of people associate alcoholics and getting drunk with loud, obnoxious, violent, often violent, somewhat abusive behaviour. Now, I don't identify with that at all because I'll get drunk and I'll go to sleep, or I'll fall asleep on the couch, or I might slur my words a little bit. If anything, I was the exact opposite. How were you?
I think I was mostly like that, but there had been a couple of incidents where I believe I did push my mother out of the way when she was telling me off for being drunk. I don't remember any of this.
Yep.
This is when I was actually full-blown blackout.
Yep.
And I did that. I did blackout probably a couple of times a month. It wasn't, every couple of months, sorry. It wasn't a couple of times a month. It was just, every now and then I'd have to really mess up everything and do that. And I never wanted to get blackout even when I was drinking. It's just that once I started, I could not stop myself from getting there.
Yeah. So you said it started off with like half a bottle of wine tonight, then the next one, and then it progressed from there. How long did that take you?
It took a couple of years for me to get to the point where I was drinking a full bottle of wine, and even then it was only usually weekends. I was a weekend binge drinker for the most part in the early parts. It was obvious that I was drinking too much wine. I switched to hip flasks of scotch or bourbon. And I'm not one of these alcoholics who went to different places because they were ashamed. I just went to the same place all the time, and they'd put the flask up on the counter every time I walked in.
Yep.
Yeah. It also helped me modify the amount I drank because it was 6 standard drinks in a hip flask, and I was always counting to make sure I could drink and drive the next day. So I don't have a graphic history like some of the people in the rooms, and it gives me a bit of imposter syndrome sometimes.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Yeah. When I heard some of the stories from some of the other people, I was like, there was a bit of, at least I'm not as messed up as you. But then there was also a bit of, am I really an alcoholic? But then that was me going, maybe I can drink again.
That was me when I started the online Zoom things, I think. But when I actually went into the rooms, my imposter syndrome is like, I'm not as bad as others. I felt guilty that maybe my story should have been worse before I walked in.
Got to get a better story.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, if anybody actually acted on that and said, you're not meant to be here, you're not as bad. I don't think anybody ever would, but like they're missing the core of there's a section in the big book going, we don't want people to lose it all. Like, we don't want people to stuff up their entire life, lose their family, lose their job, kill someone in a motor vehicle accident. That's not our goal. Our goal is for people to realise it beforehand.
Absolutely.
So that they can stop. They talk about raising the bottom, and it's a perfect example of it to go, look, I can see where this is leading and step in and do something about it.
Because I did go from the weekends to sometimes through the week to almost every day of the week, and then I tried to stop drinking. I did manage to stop drinking for a year. I was doing yoga every day. You can't pose with yoga poses. And alcohol, you kind of fall over.
I can't imagine.
Oh, no, I can't. I know what it's like because I did it. But then I was like, no, I can't drink. I'm going to stop. And I did stop.
You did for a year.
Then my back went. So I've got a herniated disc in my back, and I just couldn't do some of the more intense things. So I slowed down on, and I shouldn't have, because that probably made it worse.
Yeah.
I slowed down on that and went back to drinking.
So that really helped you. It helped you stop for a year.
Yeah, it did.
That's huge.
Yeah. And if I had kept going, I would have been right, I guess.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I wouldn't have been working on myself.
No.
Doing the program is actually better for my mind than just yoga on its own, because I'm actually actively working on my fears, where I'm at, sort of cleaning the slate, hopefully, as best you can.
Yeah, look, that's the thing. Like, I was talking to my wife about this today, and she struggles because she's a non-drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, look, I don't like it when you refer to yourself as an alcoholic. And I said, but you don't understand. It's empowering. I said, I know what I am. I said, therefore I can do something about it. And I I said, some people might not like to be labelled. But as you said, it's not about the drinking. It's about the mindset.
It's the thinking. It absolutely is. And if you don't actually look at your issues with where you're thinking is not healthy, you're not going to clean your house. You're not going to get yourself in the right position, and you're not going to move past the things that made you drink in the first place.
No, exactly.
So
no, well, I don't want to be as messed up as I was, but sober. That would be crap, because then I'll just be like, I might as well be drinking. I want to actually be happy. And, through the grace of God and a lot of hard work, I can see myself slowly getting there.
Yes. Yeah. And I have seen people in the rooms that are kind of dry drunk. They are room sober.
Yeah.
And for them,
it's a good term, room sober. I hadn't heard that one before.
They're very angry people.
Yeah.
And I know that's working for them. I can't judge that at all. At least they're doing something about it.
Look, the way I see
For
it
me,
is,
it's not what I want.
At least they're sober. At least they're not drinking. And I go, well, that's good, because of all the health issues and the defects that come along with that. So that's a good thing. And some of them, I can see that they've regained contact with family members and stuff. But they're just, some people are just not nice to be around. And you go, you're not, like, I get it. You're not going to be friends with everybody.
No.
But I completely understand what you're saying.
I can respect that they've done the work to get themselves into the rooms to be sober. And that's where I'll leave that. I mean, but what I want for myself is step sober.
Yep.
So I want to do the work, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, and I have a better way of coping with my mentality.
Yeah.
Because without that, it's actually really hard to, sometimes you'll just have anxiety attacks over the stupidest things. Now you can just take a breath and hand it over to your higher power.
How have you done the steps? Are you up to different steps?
I'm nearly finished step 4.
Well done. Okay, well,
Got
good.
one sheet left, thank goodness. Oh.
I remember you said that a few weeks ago. You got to get on with this sheet, girl.
I know. It was 2. I did the worst one, which was my ex-husband, and that was very hard work.
Yeah.
My last one will be on my father, and that's going to be hard in another ways because he's gone now. So, yeah, it's been a bit of, I think my highest power stepped in and slowed me down, because every time I go to do it, something happens.
Yeah.
Tonight I was meant to do the last one, but I think my partner will be home, so I won't be able to do it. That's okay.
Fair enough.
I'll finish it Thursday.
It's all good. Look, what I love about it, there's no time.
No.
There's no rules. It's, even in the How It Works section that we read every week, it just says that, this is a series of suggestions. You can do it or you don't, and there's no judgment. How have you experienced rock bottoms?
A lot of them were promises to stop because I upset other people. And to me, that's not really a rock bottom. It was more of look, I know I've hurt you and I know I've done the wrong thing, so I'll stop. And I tried, believe me, I tried, but I didn't want it for myself. And that was the difference and the problem.
Yeah.
My last one was my absolute rock bottom. That was the one that I'd been drinking wine because I could. I wasn't at home. I had actually been in a hotel after a procedure I had done. Not a major medical procedure or anything, but it was a minor one. But the difference with it is, like, the reason that I was in the hotel, because once I get to a certain point on the M5, I feel like someone's hit me with a brick. I'm absolutely shattered. I go into a toxic shock. So I shouldn't be driving.
Yep.
And when I'm extremely tired beforehand, I know it's time to just check into the hotel and have some downtime. But I'd taken a bottle of wine. Now, as an alcoholic, this is going to feel, it still feels strange saying it, and I'm sure other people on the rooms have looked at me and thought, what the hell, when I've shared this? I drank, I think, 3/4 of a bottle of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tipped the rest down the sink.
Yeah, crazy.
I know, right?
No, you're nuts.
So,
I don't even think we can continue.
So I had my glass full and I tipped the rest out because I knew I had to drive the next day.
Yeah.
And I also knew I would drink it. So I've always had just that little bit of consciousness to keep held on nearly like fingertips. I was very close to letting that go.
Yeah.
Then I drove in. I think that was also the time I took the bottle of bourbon with me or scotch at that time. It would have been scotch. Filled up my hip flask from a full 750 and threw out the bottle, and God knows what they thought at the hotel because I had 2 empty bottles there. Yeah, I drove in and I looked at that hip flask. I got it out from underneath the car seat because it was always a good place to hide it.
Yep.
Got it out and I looked at the thing that was in my hand and I said to myself, I really physically do not want to drink this.
Yeah.
And I drank it anyway. And I could not understand that, my mentality. I didn't understand why I did it. And I was completely hammered before midday.
Yep.
My mum had said to me, you can't walk a straight line, quite cranky, of course. And I said, okay. And my mind, I was saying,
her.
yeah, okay, yeah, I know. I was smashed. I really was. And I knew in my head I was A, slurring my words badly, and B, no, I couldn't walk that straight line. I couldn't.
Yep.
You were drunk. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. I am shattered. And why am I doing this? I also remember before I blacked out praying, I don't want to do this again. This is, why am I doing, I need help. And I blacked out and I woke up and I looked up the next AA meeting that I could actually physically get to because I didn't think I could get anywhere on a Saturday unless I called the line, and I wasn't going to do that because I'm a very proud person.
Fair enough.
I'm quite independent and I'll get myself there, thank you very much. But I didn't know that people like the AA line, they will arrange for people to take you to a meeting if you need it. I didn't know what that was about.
Yeah.
So I got myself to a really early Saturday morning meeting. And I walked in and I knew I was helpless. I knew I was completely powerless over alcohol and this was my last chance. And I think I cried through that whole meeting just quietly, just tears running down my face, and I felt like a complete idiot because I do not cry in front of people. And I can't even remember who was there. Yeah. Except for a couple of names. I'm sure they remember me with a big red face and big red eyes. But yeah, it was a very ego smashing moment for me, and it took a lot for me to walk in that room. But everyone was just so kind, and it wasn't what I expected because, you kind of expect from a lot of what some of the people have told, especially the older ones, it's going to be a room full of old men. Yeah. Maybe even sitting there with a paper bag in their hand, that it's not like that at all. You don't know what to expect till you walk in. No. It's actually a really welcoming room.
Hi everyone, I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. This podcast is all about sharing real stories of resilience, recovery and hope. Stories that remind us that we're not alone in this journey. If you'd like to support this work and help us reach more people, there are a few simple ways you can make a difference. Take a moment to like this episode, leave a comment or share it with someone who you think might benefit from hearing it, whether it's a friend, family member or somebody in your recovery community. Your support could touch the lives and inspire someone in their road to sobriety. Your stories are important. They remind us that we are not alone and help us all stay sober. What we're doing here creates a space where people can share their experiences, feel understood, and find inspiration to keep moving forward. By supporting the show, you're helping to amplify those voices and ensure that more people who need to find this message can. If you'd like to share your story and be interviewed, please email me at beyondsobrietyaa@gmail.com. Every journey is unique, and your experience could be exactly what someone needs to hear to find hope, strength, or inspiration. This podcast thrives on real stories from real people, and your voice has the power to make a difference in somebody's life. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to connect and discuss how your story can be a part of Beyond Sobriety. Thank you for your support. Together we can continue to make a difference. Now, let's get back to the episode. I've got to ask, was that the first time that you had felt that before, that you were looking at the bottle going, I actually really don't want to drink this, but you drank it anyway?
Yes.
And that was, to you, that was it? You're like, I
had no control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I could not stop myself from drinking something, what the hell is wrong with me? That was an absolute lack of power over alcohol.
Some of us lie to ourselves a lot better than others, because I think I got to that point maybe a year before I stopped drinking. But I just lied to myself going, no, I'm drinking because I'm choosing to drink. And I just want to drink every day. I want to get drunk at 4:00 every day after work. But it was probably that was before I tried to stop. And then when I tried to stop, I always made an excuse to drink again. And then I'd have the the wine or whatever it is between my legs on the way home, and I'd have it there and I'd literally go, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this. And here's the craziness about it. I knew that after the first probably half bottle, which would honestly be like 2 mouthfuls, I'll be fine. And it wouldn't matter. And I'll be able to disappear again and just have a great afternoon, cook dinner, and then fall asleep on the couch or wherever I ended up passing out that night. Funny how you're describing a very similar attitude to what I had. That wasn't enough to stop me, though. It took me another 6-7 months before I was like, I can actually stop drinking.
It's quite possible that I had that reaction before and it just didn't trigger in me like it did that day. That day, it was like a moment of absolute clarity that this is not what I wanted. It's not what I needed.
Did you try anything else apart from AA to stop drinking?
No, only my own self-will.
Yeah.
That was it. A lot of self-will, a lot of self-discipline. I can be very disciplined.
Yeah.
I just don't, obviously not with alcohol because it's an addiction. It's just something I didn't have any control over. And I still don't understand why. I mean, I tried so hard not to at times and I did it anyway. But I think because it actually numbed the pain and numbed my head, the noises in my head, and by that I mean a lot of anxiety, a lot of worries. I had always had very high stress jobs, very fast-paced normally. The one I'm doing now is not quite as fast-paced as what I've done previously.
Yeah.
So I think the only way for me to wind down was to do that.
So was that the last time you drank?
Yes. Yeah, I haven't drank since.
And so that was, I'm assuming, you can correct me, I'm assuming it was a Friday and then you came into the room, you said, on a Saturday. Is that right?
Sunday.
So it was a Sunday.
Yeah. I did not think I could drive on a Saturday.
Okay, fair enough.
And I never drove.
Really?
I know that a lot of
people drive all the time.
I know a lot of people
Every day
do.
I used to drink drive. It's a good job I'm not using my real name for this. The cops will come after me.
For absolute clarity, the suburb I live in has a bottle shop.
Okay.
That's maybe 5 minutes down the road. I had just started, for the last 2-3 weeks, opening that bottle and taking, it might have been a bit longer actually because I was taking one and then I was taking 2 sips on the way home.
Okay.
That had started and I looked at that and thought, that's not good behaviour. I've got to stop this, but I couldn't stop it.
No, but you see, you got to time it. I'll give you the speech I gave my wife. You see, I'm not drunk driving, I'm drink driving. There's a difference because I'm not drunk. I'm actually drinking it because I time it so I'm drunk by the time I get home. And she just didn't understand that. I don't know what's wrong with it. I still think that's sound logic.
Yeah, it's a kind of logic.
I wouldn't use the word sound, but it's definitely logic.
It might, for me, it would have been, I might have been within the limit, but the problem that I've always had is I'm also on the medications that kill River Phoenix, to quote the song. I'm on 3 different medications that I'm not supposed to drink on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they're the best medications to drink on.
One, the alcohol will make better. One, the alcohol will make worse. And then the third one actually exacerbates addiction.
Okay, cool.
And
so you're screwed from the way to go then.
Pretty much. And the one that exacerbates the addiction, from when I started taking that, that's when I started noticing the addictive behaviour. I'm not going to say that if I managed to get off this one, that I'd stop drinking or stop being an alcoholic because I think it's kick-started something that was always in my DNA.
Yeah, well, I mean, alcohol in itself is an addictive substance. You just, it's like cigarettes. It's like any kind of opioid. It gives you that high and then your body craves that high. It's like caffeine. But if I don't have caffeine for a couple of days, I'm going, hey, why am I getting a headache? And go, The issue is that caffeine doesn't, make my wife and family disappear and
it doesn't.
And I'm allowed to drive and it doesn't affect my mobility. So, caffeine's okay to have. Yeah, alcohol by itself would do that. So probably, you're right, probably just sped that along or kick-started it.
I've always had a bit of an obsessive nature with things and I'm trying to tone that down a bit these days. I can
tell by the 20 million cushions you got on your couch.
It's not the cushions on the couch. I need to cull them a bit. That's fine. But if you have a look at the glassware cabinet, that's not all of it.
There's more?
There's a lot more. I used to collect depression glass and I was obsessive over it. And
a what glass?
depression glass.
What's it?
From 1920s to 1940s. So
okay. So the period depression. I thought there was like a genre of glasses called depression glasses.
No, it's actually made during the Great Depression, and it's
okay.
There is one in there that would be 1960s, and there's another I can see that would be from the Victorian period.
That's all right. I collect coins. You know.
And then you should see my wool stash. Actually, you don't want to see my wool stash. It's just disgusting. So the obsessive thing is there anyhow.
Tell me about the first few days in recovery and being a part of the AA rooms. What was that like for you?
My first few days in recovery, I don't remember a lot.
Yep.
I've done a lot of things that are not recommended in sobriety. My first couple of weeks, I quit my job.
Okay.
Which they say don't make big changes.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you right now, I'd still be drinking if I was in that job.
Fair enough.
Absolutely would be, because it was toxic. It was not a pleasant place to be. So I'd actually had what would have been called back in the day a good old-fashioned nervous breakdown.
Things get worse before they get better.
It was bad for me personally. That wasn't necessarily the lack of drinking. I think it was the lack of drinking, the nonsense that went on in that particular workplace, which I've put behind me. And I don't even hate the people. It was just the situation.
Look, sometimes situations, they pull out the worst in people, and it's no one's fault.
There was that situation. Plus, my dad was in his last 6 months of life, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
So 4 months, I'm sorry. Yeah. So he was pretty bad. My mum was caring for him full time.
Was he in palliative care by that point or not yet?
He didn't want to go into palliative care.
Yeah.
It was he went into palliative care in the last 3 days when my mum couldn't lift him.
Yeah.
So this was in a very intense period in our life.
Absolutely.
Mum and my dad had been together for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she was already sort of, I guess you kind of go into a mourning, even though you're not mourning. For me, grief is unusual. Everyone grieves differently. I know a lot of people go into a massive implosion after someone passes away. I'll do it about 6 months afterwards, quietly, in a room where someone will see me. It's not the first time I've done it, and it probably won't be the last, but I try and do everything with grace and dignity. And I held myself together when everyone else was falling apart so that things could be done, or I tried to, even in early sobriety. So this was what was going on the first 4 months.
Yeah.
And before he passed, he had drivers in his arms that my mum was just too tired to put the morphine, and there were other drugs that were worse than morphine into his system, and I was doing that for her.
Yeah.
So between the two of us, we kept him going. And when he passed away, first 4 months of sobriety, I've got all this because, my higher power isn't us, but of course it's my higher power, so it's going to be an us. He was passing away from cancer that had gone right through his body. And he was a fighter. He fought that for 10 to 12 years.
Look, it's a horrible thing. I've seen 2 people in my life die from cancer. And the first one was my grandfather when I was 10 years old. And that was tough as a child.
Yeah.
Seeing your grandfather who you love deteriorate to nothing, that's pretty tough. And then the second one was a lady that went to church, where I went to church, and I was actually there when she breathed her last. And that was, again, very tough.
It's hard. And I can understand her position. I really can.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you see somebody fighting like my dad did, I don't think I could do what he did after seeing him fight like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to fight something that has been given to you for some reason or other, I mean, this is your higher power's path for you. It's not good. It's not bad. It's a path. And I try to take my emotions out of it when I'm thinking of these things, but if your higher power has given you this for some reason, I mean, I understand why people would fight if they have kids and things like that. But for me, seeing my dad and even my grandmother, she had a long, slow death with dementia and failing organs, and she was she had to be monitored for the liquid that went into her. It was very, very touch and go. Seeing that, I just think if it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
Sometimes fighting isn't worth it. It's the gentler option.
You're the first few months into sobriety.
Yeah.
You've gone through a fair bit. What did you lean on for support in those times?
I got a sponsor pretty early on.
Yeah.
And she was really good. She's moved away now, and I'm on to my second sponsor, but I did lean on her a bit. I probably don't sound it, but I'm actually quite antisocial.
Yeah.
And I'm socially awkward. I don't know how to say hello to people sometimes, or I'm always worried that I'm going to offend someone, which is stupid because these people in these rooms are all welcoming and I don't reach out, which is, I know exactly what that trigger is. That's something to do with my ex-husband. He used to yell at me if I rang him or texted him. So I find it difficult to reach out.
Fair enough.
But so, yeah, I just, again, I'm disciplined. I disciplined myself. I used the big book and I did try my hardest to keep in contact with my sponsor and she was wonderful. So, yeah, she helped a lot through that.
Well, look, being a bit odd, I have to say that within the rooms of AA, you'll never find a more eclectic group of odd people in your
That's
life.
True.
We're all a bit weird.
Well,
I don't know.
They're all eccentric.
Yeah, we're all a bit odd. Like, there's people I sit down and go, I can have a conversation with you for hours, but there might be somebody who is 30 years older than me, a female from a completely different walk of life, but yet we still are able to connect.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's a frequency in our brain that's the same that draws us to alcoholism and draws us to the rooms that we can just kind of connect with each other. But that's what I love about it. You walk in and you've got people who might be habitually unemployed, and then you've got CEOs, and they're all equal in the rooms. It doesn't matter what your net worth is, where you live, how many cars you got in the garage.
Yeah.
Inside the rooms, we're all just helpless because we all have that one stumbling block that we can identify together with.
That's absolutely right. And when I sit in that chair and I share, I can share to anybody, but otherwise I'm really private.
Yeah.
Like now I can share, but normally I would keep a lot of this to myself. It's just, I don't know. I guess my mum was always a private sort of person.
Yeah.
We've been very, very tight, I guess, throughout our lives. But she's leaned on me for a few things, I think, and she's helped me a lot. So we've been a very private, tight family, I guess. I've had a few friends. I've lost most of them. In the beginning, it was because of the fact that I just couldn't go out like I used to and I got unwell. And then I lost one of them recently over a silly misunderstanding. But I think that was possibly for the best. So I've only got one out of the room friend now. And both of those friends didn't know I was an alcoholic and I drank as much as I did.
Yeah. So did you have like a coming out moment where you told people that you're an alcoholic, or have you always just kind of kept it secret?
I tend not to keep it a secret unless I have to.
Okay.
I've told my mum.
Yeah.
I've told a lot of my family, or my mum has, but she only told them because it sort of came up. She's more worried about me being an alcoholic and how it would affect people's thought on me, how they think of me.
Than something that you're worried about.
I don't really look. This is just what I am. Obviously, it's to do with my thinking. My boss knows because we were at a party, Christmas party with her, and somebody from the rooms came up and said hello, and then she's like, "Where do you know them from?" And was with my partner who's also in AA. And I looked at him and he looked at me and we're like, we're going to have to tell him because I can't lie.
I can lie. I normally tell people it's a friend from work, but if you're out with your boss, you probably don't have that line.
No. No. And this is the thing, I couldn't really lie to her because I'm not really, even though I've lied about alcohol and I've hidden it and done all those sorts of disgusting things.
Yeah.
I'm not naturally a liar, and it was really hard for me to do that. So, yeah, she knows. She knows I've told her a bit about what I did, how I acted, and because it's not that graphic, I guess it's not as unacceptable.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I don't really, that's why I'm using a fake name. I don't want to affect her business.
Yeah.
Because she's a good person, so,
No, absolutely. And, I think it's sad when people judge. Like, I guess it's a stigma around the word alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's people, and again, I was talking to my wife about this. I said, people equate the word alcoholic to drunk.
Yes.
I said to her, I'm an alcoholic. I said, I'm not a drunk anymore. I said, I used to be a drunk alcoholic. Now I'm just an alcoholic. And she goes, but you're not anymore. I'm like, no. I said,
you're an alcoholic in recovery.
I said, that's who I'll be forever. I said, the moment I stop thinking I'm an alcoholic, I said, I'll pick up a drink again. Again, it's because, I don't know, I feel like the word alcoholic is tainted with alcohol too much. There should be a different word. I don't know what.
I just tend to say I'm in recovery.
Yeah.
Because there's less stigma attached and I'm recovering, and I will be for the rest of my life. I get that.
Yeah. Well, it's because drinking is a symptom of what is going on. Yeah, the thoughts. It's a symptom of the alcoholism. Like you go, But people say, no, alcoholism is the addiction to alcohol. But it's the same compulsion that drives people to gamble, drives people to take drugs, drives people to be over sexually active or anything that chases that rush. It's that addiction to that rush, which is, I think it's some kind of defect of character, or there's something there. But because we call it alcoholism, it's just bound to, it's about, they're addicted to drinking. Stop drinking, you'll be fine. Like, no.
It's like a Band-Aid over it. You've still got all the isms inside you where, you know, if you know what they say in the rooms, you switch the witch for the bitch.
Yeah. No,
so it's just a matter of how you're controlling it, and the steps help that. What's
one of your high points in sobriety?
I think just being able to live every day without, and knowing that I'm actually a constructive person now. I can actually help people. I'm there. I'm present. I'm just grateful every day for the little stuff. Always have been. Even like when I was really in an active addiction, I didn't notice the little things as much. But now I do notice the little things again like I used to. And you might see some, I have to grow my garden. It's all pots really, but in an apartment you need pots. But if something's flowering or if I got a new leaf, that'll make me smile.
Yeah.
If I go to the thrift store and I find something that catches my eye, that can make me smile. I'd been there again today and I found a book on knitting that's unusual because it's all about edges, and that's made me happy. It was $1.
Yeah.
That's much better than drinking. Being able to be active and in service, whether it be in the rooms or with your family.
Yeah.
It's like a gift that's been given back to me.
It's like that appreciation of the little things again.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that just became shadows in the way of getting to your goal of alcohol.
That's right. And it's not about happiness, it's about contentment.
Yeah.
Because you can get contentment a lot easier than you can happiness. It's a lot more fleeting.
Happiness is surface level, but contentment's a bit deeper.
That's right. And, of course, I did meet my partner through the rooms, and that was a pretty much high point. But that's kind of one of the gifts, I would say. That was something that just seemed to happen. Yeah, I think he copped a bit of flack for it more than me because I was earlier on in sobriety. I hadn't been in the rooms a year.
Yeah.
But we did have the discussion about if it affects my sobriety, it wouldn't keep going. So
it is the most important thing. Staying sober is the most important thing.
Yeah.
When you have somebody in your life so close to you that can support that, I think that's a real blessing.
I think it is, as long as it's done sensibly, because, they do talk about 13th stepping.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that they do, and that's more than fair enough. I didn't want to be involved in anything like that. And I didn't even come into the rooms to meet anyone. I didn't want to meet anyone. I just wanted to get sober.
Yeah.
So, but that's worked out quite well. So
that's good.
I'm quite happy with, we seem to be doing really well.
So what advice do you have for anybody that's caught in addiction?
If they're ready to do it, and this is the thing, then that's when you will be able to do it. If you think that you can do it, if you have actually hit that rock bottom and you feel that you are now so powerless, it's time to go and try. Don't be proud, because that's one of my things, pride. I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't have been that powerless. If you think that it's time, just go into a meeting. Go to a Zoom one. Don't even have to show your face on half of them, and listen. See if you identify rather than look for the differences. Look for the similarities, and you may just find that you're one of us. There is no stigma attached to this now. And if you're early on in sobriety, just every moment, sometimes you just need to take a breath. Every breath without alcohol is a breath without it. And by the end of the day, there's 24 hours for you. That is something that I had to do early sobriety, one breath at a time, because I remember that, but that's all I remember from it. It was a very full-on time for me. Some people seem to find like rainbows and butterflies and the unicorns and all of that sort of thing. That's great. I wish I was one of them. I wasn't. If you're one of those people, though, just be aware that there will be a downslide.
Yeah.
And when that happens, come to the room, don't go back to the bottle.
No, it's good advice though.
Yeah.
It's your coping mechanisms need to change.
Absolutely.
You become sober. Yeah.
And you need to lower your ego and your pride.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say necessarily everyone needs to have their ego smashed, but they definitely need to lower it enough that they can look at the logic of it all and see what the actual truth is.
Yeah.
Because the truth will set you free. I know that's a corny line as anything, but it's the truth.
Massive corny line.
I know, right? The truth will set you free. It sounds like something from Star Wars or something.
Oh, it sounds like something from somewhere, but that's okay. Look, AA is full of lines. I'm like, is that an AA line? Or what line is that?
Oh, did we hear that in a movie?
Yeah. Look, thank you so much for your time, Ella. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why don't you close us off by starting us off in the Serenity Prayer?
All right, then. To a God of your understanding, God,
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Beyond Sobriety. Just before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a gentle reminder. If you happen to recognise anyone who shared their story on this podcast, I urge you to respect their anonymity and privacy. Let's create a safe space where individuals can feel empowered to share their experience without fear of judgment or disclosure. And if you found today's episode helpful or inspiring, I encourage you to share Beyond Sobriety with somebody who might benefit from it. Together we can spread awareness, support and hope to those still struggling with alcohol addiction. Remember, your feedback is invaluable to us. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or stories you'd like to share, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at beyondsobrietyaa@gmail.com. Thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay strong, stay sober, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm Michael, and I'm an alcoholic.